What's up, guys? Rick from DFS On Demand here with a preview for the Sony Open. But before we do that, I've got a giveaway to do. So on the one and done video a week ago, we talked all about strategy and this new tool that I created for a one and done pool. And I said, if you comment, if you like, if you subscribe to the channel, I'll pick a winner and we'll pull a draw for a year's subscription to my site, which is DFS On Demand. It's worth like $150. So here is what we're going to do. I've got this random YouTube comment generator. So this is going to pick one. So let's see what happens here. Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe. Oh, here we go. Sorry. I had to click the little magnifying glass first. Here we go. All right. Now it's actually randomly drawing. And the winner is, very suspenseful, Indica0420. Nice username, and you are the winner. I will leave a comment on the original post. We'll get in touch, and I'll get you all set up. Really good response, and I'm very excited about this year, so we're going to do it again. I can't imagine I'm going to do this much throughout the season, but if you like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below. It doesn't matter what you leave. Say something nice, say something crappy. I don't really care. Leave it below. We'll do a draw again next week for another year to DFS On Demand. Really appreciate it, guys. A lot of good stuff coming this year. I'll talk to you soon. Let's get into the picks. All right, the Sony Open being played at Waialae Country Club for as long as I can remember. A par 70 where hitting it off the fairway is really no problem. A short course where most of these players are going to be able to reach, or basically all of these players are going to be able to reach the par 5s into. This is actually a course that I would like to play, right? It doesn't matter if you miss the fairway. It's pretty short. Like, I could put up a low number here, and low numbers have happened, okay? Justin Thomas shot a 59. I believe it was 2 years ago. So this is going to be quite a birdie fest to end the Aloha Swing. Just like we saw last week, there's going to be a lot of low numbers. Nobody is safe on Sunday. Somebody might go out there and shoot a 61 or a 62 and win this thing. But let's dive a little bit deeper because I've got some cool stuff that I want to show you. And we'll start, as always, with the cheat sheet. And all of this, what you see, it's available on dfsondemand.com. We'll start with the cheat sheet, but I want to move along pretty quickly here. So if you just look at the Converging Trends tool to find players who are playing well recently and have a good course history at Waialae, there's just a few names that jump off the page. Justin Thomas, no surprise, right? He is a former winner here. He finished third last week. He's been playing well altogether. Mark Leishman, Gary Woodland also fit that boat for guys who are playing well and have played well here in the past. But in different pricing tiers, we get some different options. You see Keith Mitchell show up, which, let's see how many times Keith Mitchell has played here. I'll have to pull it up. Oh, just once. 77.5 DraftKings points in his only start. Charles Howell has played this way more than one time. We'll talk about his elite course history in a second. You get Siwoo Kim kind of leading his pricing tier, Ollie, and then Max to round it out, which are really, I'm not playing either one of those guys. They have small sample sizes, and they're not playing well enough. So let's scroll down to the actual cheat sheet here, and what you're going to find is there's 5 players over, let's see here, 5 players over $10,000, 1 player over, or I'm sorry, 2 players over 11,000. It's led by Justin Thomas at 11,400. And when you look at that price compared to his Vegas odds, quite honestly, it's a pretty good deal. JT is 6.5 to 1 to win this event. And we've seen at times when players get down to like 5, 6, 7 to 1, sometimes their DraftKings pricing can get closer to 12,000. We've seen it with Dustin. We've seen it with Rory. We've seen it with Ricky Fowler at times. 12,000 is not out of the realm of possibilities when it comes to DraftKings scoring. JT at 11.4 feels pretty good for a guy who just came off third place at the TOC, has had great course history here, right? 3 top 15s in his last 4 starts, including the win in 2017. So yeah, this feels like a great place for him. If you look back at last week, which I like to do, decimated the field. in strokes gained approach, like was lapping the field, lost strokes putting, lost strokes off the tee, which he's not going to do that on a regular basis. So if he can keep the irons hot here at a second shot course like Waialae is, Justin Thomas in for another big week. Below him, I think DeChambeau is fine. I don't love him. He was not as sharp as I would have liked to have seen with the approaches last week. Gary Woodland and Leishman, both I'll have plenty of. Woodland, elite course history with a 7th, a 6th, a 13th, and a 3rd in the last 4 years. Obviously coming off that second place finish and was awesome, right? He did it all last week. I don't think we really need to dive deeper into that. But the guy that I need to dive deeper into is Jordan Spieth. So I'll make this pretty quick. I will probably be playing Jordan Spieth more than the rest of the industry. And my thought process on this is Jordan Spieth is going to win again. Okay, he is going to win again. He's not going to go 2 straight seasons without winning an event. I want to be on him when he wins. So if you're waiting to see on Jordan Spieth, you will miss the win. Right. So this is an opportunity where it's a very weak field. There's really only like 2 or 3 studs in this field. It's a really weak field. He's got pretty good odds. He's $10,300 and like, I'd rather be a week early than a week late on him. So that's just kind of my general philosophy. All right. I do want to get to some other tools here, but I do want to run through really, really quickly. Between 9,600 and 9,200 is Patrick Reed, Cam Smith, Hideki Matsuyama, and Emiliano Grillo. With the way that the pricing is, I think it's going to be very easy to make top-heavy lineups with guys over 10 grand and to get guys in the low 9s, high 8s. So this pricing tier, I imagine all of these guys go under-owned. If you can find the one in there who, maybe wins this thing or top 3s it, I think you're in really good shape. Scrolling down really quickly just for things that jump off of our screen. Charles Howell III, I mentioned his elite course history. I was not joking. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 top 10s in 10 years. And then you throw in a 13th place, and he's played well recently. He just won at the RSM. He finished 14th at the TOC. Like, yeah, fire me up some Charles Howell. Snedeker, we've seen him have a dabble of success here in the past, a 2nd place finish and then a missed cut in back-to-back years in 2016 and 2017. We're going to get to the key stats for the course later, and what you're going to see is it's a ton of putting stats, and there's probably no one in this field that can putt like Snedeker can. Unfortunately, didn't really show me much last week. He lost strokes in all of the strokes gained categories, but if you're willing to forgive and forget for this course where it's a second shot course and you need to putt really well, that would fit the mold of Brandt Snedeker in a big way. Siwoo Kim cannot really putt, but we'll actually talk more about him in a second. He's gonna show up later here. Let's see. As you go down the list, I still think it's pretty outrageous that Keegan is only $7,700. I had a lot of him last week, and I don't think that was terrible. He didn't put up the result that I would have liked from him. He putted really, really poorly, which is what you'd expect from Keegan, right? So I think this week it's also going to be difficult because it is such a course where we're going to need someone who can make a lot of putts. But I'm pretty optimistic on Keegan long term, just maybe not this week. But I did like some of the flashes that he was showing lately. All right, Jimmy Walker might get a little talk this week because he has won this tournament twice in the past in back-to-back years. I will not be playing him. Let's see, who else do we get down here in this range before I can move on? Anybody interesting? Oh, yeah, there is someone interesting. He's not this far down, but the defending champion is Patton Kizzire, who is... How much does he cost? Where is he? Oh, I'm looking right at him. $7,900. If you guys follow along, I usually don't like rostering a ton of defending champs. I think it's a lot of media to go and do, and especially like, okay, this is probably like this is the first time he's defending this event. But he played really well last week. Okay, I like to see he was in contention. He finished 8th. He finished 15th the week before that. He's playing well. This is still a course that really sets up well for him, and he's only $7,900. A lot of times the defending champion who has at least had good course history or good recent form coming in would be much more expensive than this. I mean, he's priced at the same price as Brian Harmon, a guy who's, completely fell off the face of the earth. Ches Reavie, same thing. Chris Kirk, like these are guys that may have flashed in the pan for a round or two at the Sony Open in the past, but Kazira's won this thing. So I think it's worth taking a deeper look at him. All right, let's flip over to the strokes gained tool here, because I think this is where things get really interesting. So we're looking at strokes gained versus salary over the course of the last 30 weeks. The chart on the left-hand side, there's some very clear leaders here, and it's guys that we rostered a lot last week. It's guys that we will roster a lot this week. It's JT, it's DeChambeau, it's Woodland, it's Cameron Champ. Cameron Champ is most certainly in play here again. The guy's going to bomb it all over the yard. We know he can get hot. He's going to make mistakes. He is a young golfer. He's going to back up on Saturday a bunch more times through his career, but he's the real deal. We're going to continue to play him. I did a video in regards to, I call it the most valuable golfer a couple of days ago, where basically it looks at, are you outpacing your finishing position with DraftKings points? And Cameron Champ is going to be one of these guys who consistently ranks better in DraftKings scoring than he does in actual finishing position in the tournament, because he can make so many birdies, he can make eagles, he can get scorching hot. So if we look at this, we're going to talk about key stats in a second, but I can tell you right off the bat, strokes gained putting is important. So if you see guys that are, and some of these are small sample size, right? So I'm sorting this now by strokes gained putting. Cameron Champ is 4th on this list. Kevin Na, he has a broken finger. He's 3rd, so he's out. Snedeker pops up here as well. He's 6th. Jordan Spieth is, despite having a really bad season since June, is still a top 10 or 12 player, at least in this field, in terms of putting, which if you ask around, I bet you a lot of people would not think that's the case. If we go to strokes gained total, there's some obvious names here. There's not so obvious names here. The first 3 are very obvious. Okay. So again, last 30 weeks, strokes gained total. The leaders are Cameron Champ, Bryson DeChambeau, and Justin Thomas. That all makes sense. Abraham Answer is the next one, and Hideki Matsuyama is the name after that. And if I flip back to the cheat sheet, you'll find Abraham Answer right here at $8,800, who is, let's see, he had a 21st at the Mayakoba, he had a 4th at the Shriners, he had a 5th at the CIMB, and a 7th back at the Dell Technologies Championship. So that's 3 top 20s in his last 4 starts, including some more recently here on this swing season. So that's a really good spot to grab somebody like Answer, in my opinion. And then Matsuyama, who we've not seen since the WGC, he looked, last time I saw him, he looked like he had a new putting form. Like, he's going to putt like garbage, but if he gets hot, he's still one of the elite approach players in the game, which is going to be very important this week. He's in my dead zone of ownership where I just don't think there's going to be anybody. So both of those guys, I think, are very interesting plays for this week. I'm looking forward to rostering them more in GPPs and probably Answer more than Hideki, but we'll see how it shakes out when I actually start to build some of these. All right. And then finally, we'll wrap this up with, this is the course key stats. And if you have followed along for my videos for, honestly, probably years, first of all, thank you. And second of all, you'll see this is the evolution of a lot of different tools that I have done in the past. We've done key stats in the past where we said, okay, what are the most interesting stats for this course? And then here are the players that do well in those stats. And a lot of times we were guessing, right? We would say, okay, it's a par 70, so I want to do par 4 scoring, or it's a birdie fest, so I need birdie or better. That was kind of part 1. Then last year, what we did is we did these correlated stats, where what I did is I went through, and for the last 10 or 12 seasons, I think we're up to 12 years now, but last year I think it was 8. 8 years, we looked at the PGA Tour stats, like the top 50 stats on the PGA Tour, and we correlated them to DraftKings scoring. And we found out what stats were important, which I loved, and it was awesome, and it worked really well. The problem is that there's always the same stats. right? Like it's always birdie or better. It's always par 4 scoring. It's always like scoring average, which they all make sense, right? Because the best players are going to do that, but they're very, very heavy for DraftKings scoring. So we saw the same stats every week. So now we're in version 3 of this as I continue to improve it. And now what I've done is I'm still giving you the highest ranked stats. So if you look on the left-hand side, the highest ranked stats for this week: greens in regulation from 125 to 150, putts from 5 to 10 feet, 3-putt avoidance, good drive percentage, putts over 10 feet, putts from 20 to 25, putts inside 5, and strokes gained putting. It is a crap ton of putting stats, which we can talk more later about, you know, how important the differential between 20 to 25 and 5 to 10 is. It's probably not that big a deal. But what this is showing you is it's a ton of putting stats. But then I said, okay, compare all of these stats against all the other courses. So, you know, if birdie or better percentage is important on every course, duh, but there has to be some courses it's more important on, right? So what I've done is give you the highest correlated stats. So that means we are taking the stats at Waialae Country Club and we are comparing them against the stats at every other course, and we are basically ranking them to see how important they are. So the way to read this is scoring average is a highly correlated stat on every course on the PGA Tour, but it is 10th at Waialae out of about, what is it this year, 38 or 40 different courses. So that is very important. Strokes gained total, also 10th. Putts over 10 feet, second. SFDA, which is this, it's a field differential. I think it's like strokes gained on the field, and it's a per round stat. We've talked about it a lot last year. It's a pretty cool stat. Actually, I think it's SDFA, not SFDA. It's strokes differential field average, I believe is what it stands for. And then par 4 scoring. So all of these are top 10 stats across all courses. So this is where it's really, really important. So let's now, on the right-hand side, you have those stats, all of them, if you want to look at them, and sort by who's in the field. So if we just sort by salary real quick, let's see if we can do this. And what you'll notice is obviously green is good, red is bad, and we're still early in the season. So some of these numbers, you know, like Bubba and some of these guys, you know, don't even have enough rounds to qualify for some of these stats yet, but they're coming in. And what you'll see is, you know, Justin Thomas shows up quite a bit here. You know, elite in strokes gained total, obviously. Really, really good in SFDA, which I think is actually SDFA. We know he's great at par 4 scoring, good drive percentage, and then, you know, he's actually losing strokes gained putting this year so far, but he's actually a positive player for his career or over the course of the last couple of years, so I wouldn't be too worried about that. So you can see where these kind of pop off. So let's see if we can find some value. So let's go through a couple of these. I'll do scoring average, although keep in mind it is very early in the season. You look at this, Bubba doesn't even have enough to qualify yet. But the guys that show up here are DeChambeau, Champ, Kuchar, Reed, Woodland, Leishman, Keegan, and then Kevin Kisner. And Kevin Kisner actually shows up here a couple times. I'm not sure I have the guts to play him, but there's really no surprises when it comes to scoring average. Let's look at par 4 scoring so far this year, because par 4 scoring is going to be important here. It's a par 70, and it's basically a second shot course. And now we get a little bit more interesting. So some of the same guys. DeChambeau leads the way again. Abraham, answer number 2. Love to see that for a guy that I kind of identified earlier as one of our sleeper type plays. Gary Woodland, Mark Leishman, Kuchar, and then Siwoo Kim. Which also you're going to see Siwoo Kim's also gained 2.5 strokes putting this year. That's not going to keep up, but you know, he's done well on putts from 10 feet. He's played really well. I think he's going to make a lot of my lineups as well. And then you get Cam Champ, Kisner again here, Kevin Tway. So par 4 scoring unlocks a little bit more value. You know, Tway at $7,500. I know if you played him last week, you might think it was disappointing because he was the first round leader. But if you look at his finish, which was T11, like you'd pretty much take that again this week. And then I want to go to strokes gained putting just to wrap this up, because there were so many putting stats on the highest ranked stats that, you know, there might not be a difference between putts between 20 and 25 feet and putts from 5 to 10, but strokes gained putting in general is going to open up a lot of different things. Siwoo leads the way. He is lapping the field. It's a small sample size, but then you get into some other guys like Andrew Putnam, Abraham Answer, Ben Silverman, Even, Keith Mitchell, who we saw in his one round here, played well. I think it might have been 2 years ago. It might have been last year. Zach Johnson on this list. So this is a really cool tool that opens up a lot of value, in my opinion. And we're going to keep track of this as the season goes along and see how well these stats are doing. So this is now available. It's on DFS On Demand. You can check this out. Let me know if you like it, or if there's ways that we can improve it. If you have any ideas or things that you want to see, now's the time to ask. Tweet me. It's at DFS On Demand, or leave a comment below. Best of luck this week. See you guys.